Hello there, Reverend Michael McMorrow, coming to you from the sanctuary of the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, California. It's the North San Fernando Valley. About 45 minutes north of LAX, if that helps. It's not as out in the boondocks as it sounds. Anyway, we're welcome, delighted that you're here. Before we get started, I just want to make an announcement that next week we're going to be meeting at 5 p.m. We're going to have a Samhain remembrance service. So if you want to have any of your loved ones who've made their transition or died certainly within the past year, if you would like to have them added to the Book of Life that Reverend Jeannie is putting together for the Samhain service, you can send it to me at revmike@cslgh.org, and I will make sure Reverend Jeannie gets it. So she and Michael Carlin will be putting this together for you next week. It starts at 5 p.m., and that is so the East Coast folks can join, because she has some folks out there who want to join us. Okay, and there will not be a 7 o'clock meditation. All right, that's it for announcements. So again, welcome. Nice to have you here. If this is your first time visiting us, please hit that subscribe button and that little bell, and you'll get a notification for anything that we do here at the center on the YouTube channel. So let's take a big conscious breath together. And release. And in that release, we're just releasing all the cares and concerns of the day. We're knocking the dust from our sandals. And we're coming together for our call to service, which we call Lighting the Flames of Faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all sentient beings, come from this one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Now, fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this evening. So, behind me, we have the first candle that we have lit for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle we light for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center. And behind me we have the healing candle. Please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
I surrender, I surrender. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I surrender, I surrender. I trust in God.
So let's take another deep breath together and release. And in that release, feel the surrender to the moment, recognizing and knowing that there is, running in, through, and as all of existence, a transcendent and immanent power. It is infinite in nature. It is light, it is love, it is truth, power, beauty, and light, and so much more. It is everywhere present, and so right where we are, the living Spirit dwells. And so we allow ourselves to be still in this evening and to invite a sense of the sacred, a sense of the holy in this life that we have lived today. This life that we live right now. Take a deep breath and release and surrender. And so I know that for each one of us this evening that we are open at the top, that we release any attachment to what's going on or how it's done, or am I doing it right? Or even the concerns of the day to come. We just release it all, claim this time as our own. Taking one more deep breath. And exhaling all the way out and feeling that sense of stillness at the end. Knowing that it's all good. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. So, welcome back. You know, we're almost done with this book. We've been working with this for at least a couple months. I don't think it was at the beginning of COVID. But it might have been at the halfway point, right? Which brings us, so we've been working in the chapter entitled The Big Squeeze. I don't know if we really talked about what the big squeeze is. And the way that I would put it, Pema calls it the big squeeze. I would call it that space that we feel like when we're between the rock and the hard place, right? That we are feeling both stuck and open at the same time, that we're feeling hardened and vulnerable. We're feeling clear and confused, both simultaneously, kind of vacillating back and forth from one to the other. So what Pema points out is that we want to use times like these and suck from them, the very marrow of life, as Thoreau might say. And so this chapter's been entitled "The Big Squeeze," and she's given us several pointers and lessons. And tonight, she's been working with slogans from Zen. And tonight's slogan is, "Don't be swayed by external circumstances." So, do you hear that? With everything that's going on out there, don't be swayed by external circumstances. If there is something that is glorious or even just slightly pleasant, you say, "Wow, I want that." If it's wretched or even just slightly irritating, we say, "Ugh, I don't want that." The point is that challenges don't cease. And if you wish to keep your heart open, the challenges will quickly increase rather than decrease. I think we can all relate to that, right? Harmony at these times may even seem like a distant hope. So we make a commitment that we're going to be more open-hearted. We're going to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. We're going to allow ourselves to be authentic and to be seen, and then stuff happens. And we get disheartened. So she says, Pema says, lest you be hard on yourself about being swayed, right, when we get hooked by external circumstances, keep in mind the story of Shakyamuni Buddha. Just before the moment of his enlightenment, all of the external circumstances came to try to sway him in the form of the daughters of Mara. Now she says Mara symbolizes the ways we have of looking for alternatives to being just where we are. Just before he was enlightened, every kind of idea occurred to the Buddha. It was as if every challenge in the book came up. On that evening, what was different was that he simply held his seat. He just sat, held his seat, held his meditation form, and was fully there. He opened his heart to whatever may arise. He didn't shut down. He was fully there. Unless you feel bad about yourself, not being swayed by external circumstances as a total experience, this is called enlightenment. She goes on to say the slogan, "Don't vacillate," very much goes along with not being swayed by external circumstances, that whatever arises in our practice, in our meditation, we can still keep our heart open. Beyond that, you can see shutting down or closing off as an opportunity to wake up. Now, this is not just in meditation, of course. This is, in life. Spinning off when things are painful or pleasant presents an opportunity to practice lojong. If you have good instructions on what to do with pain, breathing it in, becoming more intimate and making friends with it, you have instructions on what you can do with pleasure, sending it out, giving away most of what you are unwilling to use. And in this way, we can begin to know the pain of others and wish for others to have happiness, using the joy and pleasure of our lives, not as problems. but as tools for benefiting others. So I think many of us who are on the spiritual path certainly folks who practice the science of mind. And you know what? Anyone with just a smidgen of wisdom comes to see that life really what it is presenting to us is a series of lessons from which we learn. You know, that is, now true wisdom is when we can watch others fumbling through their mistakes, right? And then we don't do what they do. That's true wisdom. But of course there's also the wisdom that we know intimately. And if you're like me, some of those things, you know, we've had to revisit more than once. Because one of our favorite thoughts that we can get attached to is this time it's going to be different. So in we go for another slathering, only to find that whatever that thing is, that's really was just yet another attachment, often clothed in a subtly different way. And it just catches us. And I have to say, now that I'm 60 plus, it was very aggravating when I was a younger man. Now that I'm 60 plus, it's actually more amusing to watch myself. Although when I'm really thrashing, there's not much mirth in that. But of course, you know, that's one of the great things about being conscious in life is, you know, we can come to ourselves and we can have a different experience. And of course, meditation is just such an important art to practice in this regard, because we just, through observing what's going on in our interior experience through as thought, sensation, yes, you know, we're using sensation to focus the mind and then create some space between thought to have an experience of a deeper reality of life. A deeper awareness of reality. And this brings a sense of stillness within our mentality. And then with this stillness, then we find ourselves responding to life rather than reacting. And there's a tremendous sense of balance, of peace and harmony, right? So balance in that we can move with things, right? So we're not vacillating, we're not being pulled by external circumstances. We're just kind of chill with everything. And that's a nice way to be in the world. So I think, what do you say? I stop talking. And we can begin meditating. If I do that, we can have a little longer sit than we typically do. So I'm going to ask Mike to set our timer to 25 minutes tonight. And then I'm just going to join you. Because if Mike's watching the time, then I don't have to peek out every now and again. So what do you say together? We just take a deep, conscious breath and release. And in that release, we're just allowing the body to surrender. to surrender. To surrender our attention to the breath. And specifically to surrender our attention to the movement of the breath in the nostril. So as we settle, we just gently scan the body, checking our posture, checking our seat. And so a good meditation seat allows us to anchor ourselves and to really go deeply into that meditative state. So as you're following the breath on the inhale, gently, and for sure the exhale. And on the exhale, see if you can become aware of the movement of the breath on your upper lip. You'll see the mind begins to still, and you fall deeper and deeper to a very calm mental state. So just scanning up from the bottom of your feet to the top of your feet, up the leg, checking the knees for any torquing or twisting, just releasing those, to the hamstrings and the quads. If we find any tension, we just take a breath and just release. With releasing the breath, we release the tension in that area. It sounds weird, but it works really well. Play with that. And the lower back, if that's tight, just tuck your tailbone in underneath your sit bone there. Then the spine is erect, comfortably erect, without tension. Shoulders are loose. The chin is comfortable. The spine is balanced over the sit bones, and the head is balanced on the spine. That's all there is to it. That's the technique. You may find that you detect a sensation, a tingling on the crown of the head or between the eyebrows, the third eye. Just observe that. It's a rather pleasant experience. Taking a deep breath and releasing. And in that release, now we move into the silence. attention gently back into the room. We stay with the breath, just recognizing and knowing that one of the aspects, or a couple of the aspects of spirit, is that of light and love. So staying with the breath. Let's imagine at our heart center that flame of the divine, and that with each in-breath we are fanning that flame. So imagine with me that with each breath we are breathing in the love of the divine that is everywhere present, that we are breathing that into our heart center and allowing that breath of love to fan that flame. So we're breathing in love and exhaling light. Breathing in love, exhaling light, so that this flame of the divine is now growing into this ball of light at our very heart center. Breathing in love, exhaling light, so we then become a radiant lighthouse for good, emanating life, radiating life, a light that illuminates rather than consumes, a fire that illuminates, breathing in love and exhaling light so that it continues to expand beyond the torso, front to back, side to side, top to bottom, that we're sitting now in this light, this fire of love and light. The very room in which we occupy now is enlightened with the very love of spirit. And so within this field of light and love, we bring our cares and concerns, whatever they may be. Just take a deep breath. And you can name them if you like on the exhale. It may just be something like continued radiant good health, or prosperity in all of its forms, positive cash flow, creativity, open-heartedness, connectedness, a deepening in love and friendship. So what I know is that there is but one power, one presence, one source, one life, one living intelligence, both impressing and expressing in, through, and as all of life, in, through, and as our life. That as we are some part of the divine is all that we are. That we are opening to this. We feel our heart expanding in this notion. So from this place, and we feel aligned and enlivened with the energy of the infinite heart of the divine. That at an atomic level, we are vibrating and attuning with this light, this vibration of the divine energy. So that every atom, every molecule, every cell, every muscle, every sinew, every organ, every neuron, every bone, every system within the biologic temple, the body temple is aligning with and vibrating as the pattern, the indwelling pattern of perfection of life itself. That the faith that we have and the ability of the body to heal a cut finger, we now bring this awareness to any seeming ailment or challenge within the body temple. Breathing and releasing. That we know for our mentality that it too is aligned and enlivened and enlightened with the light of spirit, that every wrinkle of our cortex, every neuron is firing and aligning with this pattern of perfection and demonstrating as a serene mentality, a mentality that is clear in thought and that is accessing the infinite wellspring of creativity, presenting us with new and dynamic ideas to face any seeming challenge, that we know that within any problem the solution is already in place, for we are one with the infinite mind. That within the heart we are one with the infinite heart. That our spirit as well, that we are one with the infinite spirit, all the many names of the divine. So we take a deep breath. And on the exhale, we just release. We release all of our cares and concerns, our intentions, our new thoughts for our best life now. That we're releasing them to that aspect of the mind of the divine itself acting as law, responding to the impress of our thought by saying simply, yes, my beloved, yes, in you I am well pleased. So in gratitude and in confidence we release our word, our thoughts, our feelings, our concerns, and our cares to this infinite power, confidently knowing it is done. So in that confidence then, we move through the rest of this evening, arriving to bed. And as our head hits the pillow, we drift easily and effortlessly off to sleep. Sleeping deeply, dreaming sweet dreams, that we awaken feeling refreshed and revitalized and excited for the day to come. For we remember with our first awakening thought that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. And so we just witness the divine unfoldment through the day to come. Taking one more breath. Releasing. It is done. It is complete. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So thank you, Mike, for keeping time for us today. I actually went pretty deeply and almost too deeply. I'm surprised my chin didn't hit the microphone. And sometimes meditation is like that, yeah? So again, next week, be here at 5 o'clock for the Samhain service. Now, what is Samhain? Samhain is a Gaelic word, right? That it's a remembrance, and in the Celtic tradition, November 1st actually is the actual day. It's the veil between this life and the next is very thin. And this actually is the basis for All Souls Day or Halloween. So, and that's why people dress up and so forth. But, it's a much different, Halloween's a much different holiday. So this will be there's a remembrance ritual. You will have, find a candle to keep close by, and Reverend Jeannie will take you through the ritual, and you'll light a candle for your departed. And so it's just a very sweet Celtic influence remembrance evening. So join us online for that, right here on this channel. What time? 5 o'clock Pacific time. Okay. We'll see you then, and then we'll pick up at 7 o'clock the following week. And of course, 10:30 Sunday mornings, Mike opens the Zoom room at 10:25. Again, if you are not a subscriber, if you hit subscribe and there's a little bell right next to it, if you hit that, you'll get a little notification whenever, basically on Sundays and Wednesday evenings, which will remind you when we're getting ready to start, and you can make your way. I was just checking over our electronic reports. Apparently most of you are joining us on your mobile devices, that's pretty cool. So you can, wherever you are, we can be there with you. So I like that notion. All right. So just know that you're loved, and I look forward to seeing you online and, of course, in person when we can safely do so, which will be some time yet. So let's just go in peace, and I will see you online on Sunday. Bye now.